me ask you a question. You opened up about struggling with depression.
Yeah.
Do you remember talking about that? Do
Yeah,
you
man.
remember saying that? And
Oh,
then it
that
said
it
that
cost me a lot.
no, but it said that you were in 2001. It got bad. You were considering murdering Paul Heyman before committing suicide in front of millions of people.
Yes,
Was that really your thought process, or
absolutely. But I tell you what, I thought about that, and then when I went public about it, I was just I said that, and I trust me that has cost me a lot. It cost me a lot.
what do you mean? The comment that you said?
Yes, because a lot of people took it out of context.
Okay.
I said it the week after two wrestlers killed themselves. A female wrestler hung herself, Ashley Mazzaro, and I was supposed to meet up with her the day before, the day she hung herself. And nobody knew she was depressed. And then another wrestler, they always say reach out to people, reach out to people. He's a wrestler from the UK. He reached out to everybody. But never once did he say, hey, I'm thinking about killing myself. And I went public with that on my podcast, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're going to kill him." Did I ever have a gun? Did I ever? It was a thought that came into my head, and I think we all have crazy ass thoughts when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you're not sleeping, and you're literally laying in bed. And I would be like, "Man, you know what? I should just kill that motherfucker." Excuse me for cursing. I don't know if I
Okay, you can
can.
curse.
And as quickly as it went into my head, as quickly it went out of my head. But what I was trying to tell everybody, we all have bad thoughts, but never to think on them. You know why? Because, like I said, on your worst day, you'll have a better day. And you need to find your happiness. Now, if Ashley Mazzaro would have told me, because I was supposed to meet her with a friend of mine, hey, I'm not going to meet you tomorrow because I'm going to hang myself tonight. Don't you think I would have driven out or just stayed on the phone with her?
Of course.
Or
Of
that
course you
guy
would.
Lionheart, who's a UK wrestler, he reached out to so many people, and everyone just thought, oh, he's sending me a random message. But if he would have said, hey, man, I'm in a bad place and I'm thinking of killing myself, don't you think so many people? There's a wrestler on Scotty Riggs. He was part of the American Males. He goes out there and says, man, hey, I'm having a really bad day. Don't know if I want to continue. You know how many people I'll reach out to him all the time. Hey, man, how you doing today? In the sense of when he goes, because I feel it's not a, it's just at times you just need somebody to be there for, somebody, a shoulder to cry on, a shoulder, or just someone to listen. Hey, this happened, that happened. And now with social media, you can help people. I have met so many people who have told me that ECW, I'll tell you it's a great story, but it could have been horrible. A guy hit me up after I left WWE. He hits me up and he says, hey man, I've never written any celebrity anything, because I put up an email out there. And he said, I had pills, I had alcohol, and I had a gun. And I was going to kill myself. I was 100% addicted to drugs. I had nothing to live for. I watched you get chokeslammed from the top of a building, and this is an ECW, and I was like, what the hell am I looking at? And he goes, and then the show went off the air. I was freaking out. I never saw anything like that. He goes, I put off my suicide to see what happened to you the next week. And then you went and you were like still, and I was like, oh man, I'm glad that guy survived. And then I literally had this epiphany, and he said, I care about somebody. And he goes, I just want to let you know I cared about you. And I stopped drinking. I stopped doing drugs. I didn't kill myself. And I'm about to have a daughter. And he goes, and I just want to tell you that you're responsible for that. We met each other after that. I'm still friends with the guy. But what I'm trying to say is, and why I went and I said that, is because I was just so sad. ECW's out of business. Paul Heyman was my friend, and he screwed me over. I didn't think he'd do that to me. I had lost so much of my money, so much of my parents' money. It was like, what am I going to do next? And yes, that thought went into my head and out of my head, but I had nobody to talk to back then. And when I said all this stuff, it was just like what I'm trying to say. If somebody's at that point where you're really low, there's somebody out there. Somebody or something cares for you. Or I just always tell people, find your happiness. If you can literally listen to you're so sad and you start doing this because you hear a song, that means you like something. You like that beat of that song. That's your happiness.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, that's what podcasts are for. See, I gotcha. No
You
Zing
did.
music, G Money.
Let's go.
Yeah.
When you say he screwed you over, Tommy, now this is a long time ago, right? Oh, what? In retrospect, is it? Do you think about it different, or was it really? Can you get into like how you felt he screwed you over?
Well, sure. None of us knew he was in WWE's pocket all along. ECW, which I had turned down a lot of money to go other places, to go to WCW. My last offer was $750,000 to leave ECW to go to WCW. And Paul, a lot of wrestlers had left. Sandman had left. Raven had left. And then they came back. And I was just like, Paul, this is more money than I'll ever see in my life. And he was crying, probably fake crying. And he was like, if you leave, this company goes out of business because of all the stuff they did. He's, if you leave, all your friends will be out of jobs. So that was a heavy thing. You know, $750,000, I could take care of my family. But then I think about it. Back then, yes, I was pissed because then he just folded up the company. I stayed longer in the company than he did. And I had also, like, the famous ECW ring truck was in my name, wasn't in his name. There was a lot of things that there was an opportunity to save ECW financially, but the people did not want, these are my people, but they did not want Paul involved in it. And I was like, Paul, man, and he stood me up in a meeting, and they're like, how are you saying you're business partners with this guy and he's not here, plus your name's not on anything? So there was a lot of things like that, but that's, now it's all water under the bridge. But you think back then, and this is again why, like I say, life changes. Like, I laugh at it because I also say, for everybody that left and for everybody that, everything, me staying part of ECW made me the man that I am in wrestling and made me this person that fans perceive. And all those people that did leave or went for the quicker cash, they're no longer wrestling, and I'm still here. But yeah, he screwed me, but he screwed over everybody.
But can you really blame him? Meaning that did you take the initiative to understand the business, or you were just trusting him to handle it for you? Can you blame him, or can you have to take accountability for me not being on my business or business savvy
Correct.
at the time?
Both.
Both, okay.
I could blame him for lying because you don't need to lie.
You don't. That's real. You're right.
I blamed him because my parents were flipping a lot of my bills. And if someone, like I said, anything could happen to me, I'm cool. But someone messes with your family, that's different. There's no reason to lie. You look at greatest fighter of all time, Mike Tyson. Besides going to jail, which is the lowest point of his life, he also had all his money was taken from him.
Yeah.
So all that he did, all that entertainment, all that stuff that he did, Mike, but now you look at Mike now, he's a totally different person. And he even said, I was angry. He did all these things, but that's life. And that's why life is beautiful. Life, we got to keep on moving forward because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. I could win the Powerball tonight. If I do, I'll hook you both up just for the good luck factor. But exactly, G Money.
Yo,
but what I'm just saying
doing
is
it on purpose, man. Stop. yeah.
So it's two-pronged. You know, when I learned, it's pretty funny when I kind of forgave him. I forgave him when
Kinda, you said, Tommy.
Yeah, well, there's been others. There's been after facts too, and I don't like that. Not with me, but also like with my friends. Lying to people. You'll have other wrestlers sit here, but lying to other people. You don't need to. I'm very against lying. You don't need to lie. I could literally tell you guys, like, you could be like, hey, Dreamer, you're a really good guest, or like when I leave, you're not going to tell me, but you tell Brian, like, hey man, don't get us like crappy guests if you think I'm a crappy guest. Like, I don't need to be like you guys. Like, you are the greatest guest I've ever met. Blah blah blah.
Adding
blah.
ketchup to the spaghetti sauce, basically.
Exactly.
Got it.
But you don't need to. I don't live in this pro wrestler bubble. I don't live that I used to live in, and like there was a lot. And when I was saying when I forgot him on. He did a thing on Monday Night Raw when he got evaluated by Vince McMahon on television. And he said, I did everything that you would do to keep your company afloat and all this stuff. And then because then I'm running my own wrestling company. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I've got it. I straight up tell people, it has affected me being brutally honest. Lita talked about her Hall of Fame speech. I kind of discovered Lita. And you know what she said in her Hall of Fame speech in front of everybody in the world? Tommy Dreamer said, I needed to lose weight and I was fat. And she thanked me for that. Because I said, hey, for ECW, it doesn't matter what you look like. But for WWE, you need to lose weight. Because they will judge a book by its cover. And if you want to have this career, and she's like, yeah, I was in Mexico, I was partying, I got out of shape, but like no one would ever tell me that, hey, you're getting fat and you need to get in better shape. I'll tell you the beauty of Paul Heyman. He did the same thing to me. He would still pick out flaws and tell you things that no one else would. He was, besides creative, when we were together, we were great. But you can't, listen, if the two of you here, I'll flip the script at you.
Hey.
Oh, my God.
Hold on.
G2.
Two of you are hanging out doing this podcast. Don't know what money you guys are making, right? All of a sudden, who's got the number one podcast in the world? Who's got the number one podcast?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. You find out he's working for Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Exactly.
So he was always working for Vince, though, you trying to say?
The entire time.
No.
The entire time.
Entire time when, though? We got to be specific.
That thing called ECW. He was in Vince's pocket the entire time.
When did you find that out, Tommy?
When I worked for WWE, and I worked behind the scenes in WWE. And I'm friends with Shane McMahon. And Jim Ross has said Paul also told me.
The whole time?
That whole time.
So
Vince had a feeder system. Vince could take whatever guys, and if you jump to WCW, like Chris Jericho went to WCW, the Radicals went to Malenko, Guerrero, they all went to WCW because they weren't really WWE guys. But then if they want, and Paul was getting a paycheck from them.
Wait. How does it work? Wait.
You're getting paid by Joe Rogan. Tell G Money that right now.
I'm not getting paid by Joe Rogan.
But that's what I'm telling you how this all went down.
So Vince would pay Paul Heyman for wrestlers.
I don't know for wrestlers, but he was paying him. If you look at the wrestling, the time, and I'll tell you, there was like, you ever see like these detective movies or these movies where, and like all of a sudden at the end of the movie they put like all these scenes, and you're like, how did I not see all
this? Yes.
There was,
and I was explaining that to them yesterday of being in a situation but not seeing it and being more upset because you didn't see it.
Correct.
Thank you.
You look at the Attitude Era. Yes, you could see it on television, but there's a wrestler named the Sandman. He would come to the ring smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer. And then there was a wrestler, minus the smoking cigarette, called Steve Austin, who came to the ring with a beer. Made very, very famous. I'll tell you the one where I was one of these first, like, there's no way. It was on a Saturday, and I was the first wrestler. I always like to do things first. I was the first wrestler to ever hit. I had a cameraman, and I took the camera from the camera, and I hit this wrestler, Brian Lee, in the head with it, DDT'd him, and pinned him. First time that's ever been done in wrestling. And I was like, this is awesome. The next day was Survivor Series. And Shawn Michaels versus Sid, and they used the camera, and they switched the title on that. And I was like, I was furious. And I was like, you told them, Paul. I'm calling up Paul. And he was like, I did not. And I was like, how the F do they know that happened? Because this didn't air yet. And there was only, 700 fans in Philadelphia that's seen this. It will air on TV later. And he was like, Howard Finkel was there. He's their stooge. He must have told them the finish. And years later, I became great friends with Howard before he passed. And I worked in the office, and I asked Howard. I also asked Shawn, and I asked Sid, who then came to work for ECW. And he goes, no, we had a different finish. He goes, literally, about an hour before, Vince came in and said, we're going to do this with the camera. And right then, that was my first thing. It was like, honestly, there was no way that that could happen unless they were told. And I'd be convinced that he told them because he was getting paid. Jim Ross said every week they would cut a check to Paul Heyman and to the corporation that they had the company in. Jim Ross has said that on his own podcast. Shane McMahon, who I'm friends with, said, yeah, man, Paul was with us pretty much the entire time. It was also like double agents. It's different, dude, it's crazy. There was also like, I know, let's say the two of you were boys, you would come up to me and be like, yo, what do you, you'd start bitching about him. And if I started bitching about him, you'd go back and tell him.
Double agent.
You're playing double agent. Wow. And there was people like that all the time. WWE, listen, man, WWE used to have paid informants. They would have, and I knew who these people were. When I say paid informants, they were wrestlers that were getting paid basically to stooge off what was going on the road. So if you're not allowed to smoke marijuana, and all four of us are smoking marijuana, you would go back and tell the office, oh yeah, I smoked marijuana with Tommy Dreamer, Brian, this person, but yet you were smoking the marijuana with us. But that was pretty much your job to tell them what.
Got it.
There was people like that. I could not live with myself. That goes back to, I guess, the mafia ties. You can't be a rat.
Wow. Yeah.
But I couldn't look at myself in the mirror like that as a man.
And then, so you end up, you said it, you said this thought came, you was extremely depressed, you said, but then you snapped out of it.
Yep.
You snapped out of it, and when because I didn't ask you this, but I asked you, but you didn't go into details. You said you got a lot of backlash from those comments. What was the worst that happened when people found out that you thought that, like, is it business-wise, that people not want to work?
Here's the best part. The best, when my podcast dropped, Paul Heyman was named the head writer of the WWE for Monday Night Raw. So that drops on the same day that happened. So I'm trending number one with Paul Heyman because they talk about Paul Heyman. Oh, and by the way, his right-hand man wanted to kill him at one point, which, again, wasn't the case. Then it also was like, dude, the New York Post was talking about. My mother, 80 years old, calls me up and she's like, what is all this talking about? And I was just like, and I told her, and I love her answer till forever. She was just like, if your grandfather was alive, he would have killed him himself. And then she goes, someone should at least break his legs still. And I just laugh because, again, it's old school. But it's, you get a lot of backlash. And then, social media, man, people are there to rip you up. And here's another thing. A year later, someone in the UK pretty much didn't listen to the article or listen to the podcast, and they wrote all this stuff about me and like pretty much summed up what somebody else wrote about the podcast, but never once said the reason why I'm saying this was so people don't kill themselves or people don't do bad things. And it's basically to know that don't act on these bad thoughts. So that whole message was lost, and it was one of those clickbait articles.
Yes.
And people will hit me up with it all the time, or people will, again, social media. There's a lot of tough guys on social media.
Yeah.
And they'll use that or be like, oh, yeah, just like when you wanted to kill Paul Heyman. I was like, yeah, right, because you just think you know everything. And it's so wrong, but I will take it every day because it has helped people. And for as many people that came at me for it, people have told me about what they've fought with depression and how it helped them. I just wish the message was not taken because honestly, like, and I said this before, I never intended on doing it. It was a thought that entered my head, just like, you know what, I'm going to have a sip of water right now. And then once I do this, that thought is gone because I no longer want water. And but I don't want people to commit suicide, and I don't want
Respect,
people to think
respect.
that they don't have anyone to go to. And I've been blessed to help people that way. And if I had to take that on the chin a million more times, I'll take it on the chin a million more times.
Did you talk to Paul Heyman ever about that? Did you guys ever speak? Because how I take it is that you were more mad because, you know, you're supposed to be his right hand man. He convinces you to stay. He gives you the speech, and you come to find out that it all wasn't true. You feel it was more betrayed. Like
Yeah.
you betrayed me as a friend, you know. And a lot of
I
times,
forgave him on the air. I don't mean to cut you off. I forgave him on the air on the WWE Network. We did a special, me, Taz, and Bubba. I had forgiven him, again, money under the bridge, water under the bridge.
Respect. Okay.
I could care less. He has done things after, which
Not towards you though.
no, it generally affected me and my business. But
Wrestling.
yes,
Got it. Okay.
there was some good negotiations with the WWE Network and House of Hardcore, which was my wrestling company,
I know.
and then they went away. And then I was told they went away by a certain person, and lo and behold, who was that certain person?
But hold on, Tommy.
Answer my question.
I know it's
Okay.
I got it. But Tommy, hold on. That comes out. And you guys never speak in person, even though you forgave
I
him.
have no animosity towards him.
I mean, saying that, but would you have a conversation with him?
No, because it would be a lie.
So you hold resentment, though, Tommy.
No, it would be a lie from him.
How you know he can't grow? People
He
grow.
can't. No, he can't. Because he's still. Listen, I have this business. This wrestling business is so big, but it's also so small. And I'll be this gigantic octopus, but my tentacles reach so far. And I have people that I have helped in this wrestling business that work in the WWE. I have good friends that I gave breaks to that are in AEW. That I have a long reach within this wrestling business, and like for wrestlers that were let go recently, there was a bunch of wrestlers let go, and they'll hit me up like, dude, I haven't seen him in a while. Like, how the hell did you deal with Paul for all these years? And I'm like, oh, what did he tell you? And then they tell me, I just said, that's just him. And here's like, again, I have no animosity towards somebody, but if you know that person is always full of shit, why are you going to choose to hang out with that person? Or why are you going to choose to want to deal with that person? He has no bearing upon my life. I have no bearing upon his life.
Understood.
I would love to hang out with him. I used to love hanging out with him. We had so many great times. That relationship is no more. But I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm going to see him and beat him up, unless he does more. Because
Tommy, man,
I'm
don't do
straight
that,
up.
Tommy.
No, well, I'm straight up.
'Cause you
Listen,
say
if you
out of
keep
sight,
on,
out of mind, though. That's
if
what
you
you're
keep
saying.
on fighting with me or causing me, we need to settle this like men,
Facts.
or we need to close the door and fight, and then it's over. If you beat me up, cool. If I beat you up, cool. And then if I beat you up and then you continue to talk, then I have to keep beating you up. That's just how I think.
Because you got a strong family. You're from the no rat
But
era. You're from the toughness.
that should be
grandpa, health
that
security.
should be life.
It should, but Tommy, also what should be life is that people that look up to you, when you say something,
Yeah.
like you have to be clear. When you say that there's no animosity, but then it's like you basically saying out of sight, out of mind. I don't if as long as you don't cross my path, I don't cross.
No,
your
I'm
path.
saying we don't. I could work with him if he was
So you
doing
can't.
this.
You can work with him still.
I will never be in that. I will never be in that space.
Got it. Mentally.
No, I would never be in that. I would never be in that. I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't want to. There's no position in my life that would be that way. If someone like, hey, I want you and Paul to do a podcast together, I'd be like, okay, you need to pay me a lot of money to do that.
Is it because does a lot of money come from the fact that you felt that he took so much money? And
No,
family?
it would just be like, I don't know. Why do you want to have negativeness in your life? Why would you? If you always know that G Money is always
Stop using me. Stop using me.
I'm telling you
Tommy.
this. If you know that G Money is always
stand-up guy.
okay, but if you know he's not, and he's always looking to do something to get an advantage of you, or would you want that in your life?
No.
Okay, but then if someone said, all right, well, I'll give you $500,000 to deal with G Money. Oh shit, you're thinking now.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
But what about growing? What about growth? What about time? And what about you just said that you understood that he had to
I did.
He had to do what he had to do to keep the business going.
Awesome.
that also shine
And
light
I
on a lot
said
of
I
wrestlers.
forgave it. But then there was other stuff
You
after
did say that.
that.
You reiterated that. Yes, you did say that. That's something that you sat on.
And so again, if all is there, I have listen straight up. I have no animosity towards the guy, but he's not involved in my life. Are you married?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been divorced?
No.
Okay. Have you ever had another girlfriend?
Yes.
Did you tell that girlfriend you loved her?
None of your business, Tommy.
Okay.
Yes,
No, but I mean,
Yes, I did. Tommy.
you shared intimate things with another woman.
Yo, Tommy, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What
Tommy,
I'm trying to
stop doing
say
this,
is,
bro.
at that point in your life, that girl was the most important thing in your life. And you shared things with that person. Does that person mean a rat's ass to you today with your wife?
No.
Thank you. It's an ex-relationship. Done. Point closed. G-Money, give me a soundbite.
Let's go. Tommy.
This was great timing, man. This guy, he just knows.
No, don't give it to him. Don't give it to him.
It's an ex. It's an ex. That's it is.
Gee,
you had a wonderful relationship with that person. You shared some great times with that person. That person is no longer in your life. Do you want that person back in your life? Do you want to hang out with that person? Do you want to hang out with that ex-girlfriend? You want to have that heat with your wife? No.
Do you? He cool, man.
Nah, he's not cool. He's not cool, G.
It's the timing.
It's a trick question.
It's the timing
He's
for me.
Smart.
It's the timing for me.
So okay. So let's move on. I just feel because speaking to you, very intellectual guy. And I like the way you answer questions. But when I can notice, if you can watch people and notice certain things, and that's what I do. Like I sort of try to pick. And I noticed that, when we brought that up, and you being Tommy, positive, cool, and collective, then it goes like this, like a meter. Sometimes the meter goes like this, and it goes like this.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing. And I just wanted to make, be clear, a lot of times in our past, I mean, when we think about things in retrospect, it's like, okay, I get why. Because the first thing, how you started the conversation is why I get why you didn't say you get it, but you said you heard when Vince McMahon was doing that thing that he had to do what Vince would do.
Exactly.
I
understood it.
You understood it. Yes. Not necessarily you wouldn't agree with it because you wouldn't go about it that way.
Correct.
But do you feel in your mind, honestly, this is the last question pertaining to this, that it could have been another way that he went about everything and still achieved the same success that he achieved or that happened? Do you think that you could have did this? I get the standing you up. That's I don't agree with that standing you making you look crazy. But
I don't agree. Listen, man, if we talk about ECW, everything we did there was illegal.